Racing incident.
Wonder what the stewards will think of that.
Could Hamilton have done anything to give Max Verstappen room there and avoid that crash? He was on the inside, of course. Yeah. Was there a bit more room to the right that Hamilton should have been finding? What will the stewards say? Norman.
Lewis ran a little bit wide, didn't he, into the apex of the corner.
That's why I asked the question. Was there any more room he could have given Max Verstappen? Could he have gone a bit further to the right?
As you were watching those replays, so Christian Horner and Adrian Newey, Jonathan Wheatley and everyone on the Red Bull pit wall were watching them as well. They want to make their mind up, just like you're going to want to make your mind up watching and then watching at home as well. Right next to them, to their left, is the Mercedes pit wall. They'll have their view as well. You could say for Lewis Hamilton, for in order his strategy to work, he needed to lead at the end of lap 1. That was the only chance he would have to stop Max Verstappen running away with this race. That's why he was so keen to get it done so quickly, when in previous races he's been able to have the luxury of taking his time. They decided not to pit him by...
Check out our early payout offer and see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365.
So I'm just very disappointed that a driver of his caliber should make such a move as that. It's dangerous. He's put a competitor. It looked desperate, and he's put a competitor. Thank goodness, uninjured. But he's put in hospital. Getting himself checked out. So anyway, there we go.
Yeah. I mean, of course, just to...
So what's the narrative? I'll tell you what the narrative is. It's a season-long narrative. And it started back in Bahrain. And it's probably been going on for several seasons prior to 2021. In fact, I know it has, because I've actually looked at quite a lot of Grand Prix since then. And some of the things that are said, and the way they're said about Sir Lewis Hamilton, and you compare them with how they're spoken about other drivers, it's not right. Now, what happened at Silverstone 2021 was the vilification of Sir Lewis Hamilton, and it created hate. There was an explosion of online hatred targeting Sir Lewis Hamilton after Silverstone 2021. This was, in part, due to what was broadcast by Sky Sports and what was allowed to be broadcast from the mouths of Red Bull. And that is what it produced. I'm going to show you what took place in Bahrain. So, warm-up lap in Bahrain. Old Crofty and BRUNDLE are having a chat.
But just set the scene for us here. Hamilton against Verstappen. It's the championship protagonist as we envisage it going into this season. You can't win a championship into the first corner, but Lewis Hamilton will be desperate to make an impression.
Lewis Hamilton will be desperate to make an impression. Desperate. Okay, this is the man that's a 7-time world champion, winner of 90-odd Grand Prix at this stage, compared to Max Verstappen, who is a 0-time world champion, who's won 10 Grand Prix at this stage. Who's going to be the more desperate one? Hey? Who's displayed desperate driving, mostly, in their career? 6 years of their career up until to date for Max Verstappen. What kind of driving have we seen so far in his career from Max Verstappen that has earned him a nickname, Crash-Stappen? Who's the desperate one? Now, look at the grid. Verstappen on pole, Hamilton on second. Is this another one of those races, like all of the rest of Lewis Hamilton's 90-odd victories, whereby he's going to be desperate to overtake Max Verstappen on that first lap, because that's the only way that his strategy can pay off, and that's the only way he'll have a chance of winning this race? I wonder. Oh, Hamilton managed to control his desperation until lap 17 of this event. And, they'd they'd chosen to change from the medium compound tyre onto the hard compound tyre back on about lap 14. Verstappen remained on the medium compound tyre. But let's have a look at tracker view. Let's see what happens.
Box and pit confirm, Max. Box and pit confirm.
Right, so here come the Red Bull crew. And
feels a bit no man's land. Ted's down there, though.
Yeah, we're going to have a fight, aren't we? We're going to have some overtaking. If Max Verstappen still wants to win the Bahrain Grand Prix, steady into the box, slow on the right. That's not perfect for Red Bull Racing. It was just slow coming off. Not the end of the world, but not perfect.
you spot some great stuff, Ted Kravitz. That was about 0.7 of a second slower than Red Bull would have wanted. Max Verstappen is not going to like this, I'm sure, as he sees Lewis.
Oh, I didn't think it was ever going to be possible unless Lewis would have overtaken him on lap 1. Oh, lap 28. 28 laps on from lap 1. What's happening now? Let's have a look on tracker view.
And Aston Martin, no, they seem to be ahead of them, certainly at this track. Daniel Ricciardo runs
Lewis is
sixth.
pitting.
Lewis is coming into the pits. Ted Kravitz.
Yeah, just saw the Mercedes guys come out, just prepare the wheel guns, and thought, right, okay, so it is a 3-stop. If he didn't manage to get very far on the first set of hard tyres, he's not going to get to the end of the race on this set, but there you go, it's the brand new set of hard tyres. Out he goes, and it's advantage Red Bull Racing once again. Christian Horner doesn't even move from his position to have a quick look at the Mercedes pit box. Let's see what Verstappen can do from here.
Let's have a look what Verstappen can do from here. Again, Sky Sports predicting what's going to be the right strategy and not. Always getting it right, aren't you, Sky Sports? Lap 39. Surely it's got to be race over now. Max is winning the race. You know, he's winning by 13.5 seconds. You know, he's just cruising to victory, isn't he? Just cruising.
Does stay ahead.
Let's have a
into
look.
turn 8. Neat stop there by the Red Bull crew. Hamilton crosses the start-finish line, and Max Verstappen makes his way out of the pit. Sub 2 second stop for the Red Bull crew. That wasn't just neat, that was super neat, wasn't it? And now, ladies and gentlemen, with 16 laps to go, it is game on. Hamilton's in the lead. Verstappen's going to chase him down, and we'll find out who wins out when the checkered flag comes out.
Exciting. I thought this was going to be determined on lap 1. Just like every one of Lewis Hamilton's 90-odd victories that he'd done at this point in time. That he was reliant on for his strategy because he was desperate. Which is how you project him at Silverstone. The only race where that really is applicable is Monaco, where we know, realistically, overtaking isn't possible. We know the likes of Alonso can purposefully lap 3 or 4 seconds a lap off the pace and still keep cars behind him. Okay, so we know overtaking is extremely difficult around some circuits. Silverstone's not one of them circuits.
Let's watch this. What can he do? It's going to be fascinating. Strictly speaking, it should be all in Max Verstappen's hands now on those tyres.
But I said Hamilton wanted round about a 9-second gap. He got about 8.8 seconds. I wonder if it's enough or not. All the rest.
Let's have a look.
Before the checkered flag, Lewis Hamilton is going to break another record here. I think he needed one more lap to lead in this race to surpass Michael Schumacher's record of 5,111 laps led.
Wow. The laps led. What an incredible statistic. Makes you fully deserve the World Championship, doesn't it? Or no, is that irrelevant? In the Premier League, if you lead the games for the most amount of minutes in the season, does that mean you fully deserve to become Premier League champions? Or has it got no relevance whatsoever? The criteria for winning is which team accumulates the highest points total. Is Formula One the same as that? Tell us. Martin has said he's surprised that Verstappen's not caught Hamilton. quicker than he has done now. They waffle on for a bit. And then CROFTY tells us this, and pay attention to afterwards what he says about wanting to get the job done a bit quicker than that.
Is he just saving tyres, waiting to pounce in the last 3 laps or so? Has he not got any more to give? What is going on in the at the back of the Red Bull garage? We've heard about those technical problems earlier on in the race. Will that have an influence in this battle?
Yeah, but you want to get it done before the last couple of laps. All he needs is a safety car or something, isn't it? And then you've lost your opportunity. But
absolutely right, Martin. If you're behind and then something happens on track that means racing has to be neutralised and then you run out of laps, you've lost your opportunity. Thanks for sharing that, Martin.
Wow, this is even closer than I thought it was going to be.
The chance.
Wow, keep talking it up. Keep talking it up. Keep selling it to everybody. Keep selling the excitement. Keep coming up with all of the different variables and possibilities. What could happen? What might happen? What might not happen? Keep watching, everybody. Anything can happen. It's only live once. Salesman.
Of getting a safety car in the closing stages of an opening race of the season where reliability can often be an issue, probably a little higher than the teams would expect if we came to Bahrain in the latter stages of the season. There's the gaps between Leclerc and Perez, and at the moment Sergio Perez about 3.5 seconds back.
Stay watching, everybody. There could be a safety car. Anything can happen. Now you're about to hear a radio message, and then you're going to hear Martin Brundle. Listen to Brundle.
So Verstappen now, car behind.
Leave me to it, Bono.
Okay, copy, got it, leave it to me, says the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton.
Two of the greatest drivers we've ever seen on the grid in Formula One now. Absolutely, leave it to them. That's
what? I'm going to just play this forward because the narrative. Brundle says something and we get a message that gets played to you that is selected by F1 TV and it's seamless.
absolutely right. Wow, how's this going to end up? I don't know. I mean, if Verstappen gets on his tail, he'll have the DRS quite soon, but you know,
he's got to get on his tail.
He has got to get on his tail, and Lewis, well, there we go. That sums it up.
It's twitchy foot time down on the Mercedes pit wall for the man.
It's going to make me a liar, isn't it? They play that on the 30-minute preview, but they didn't show it on this one. Let's just play you through Brundle again. But on the race in 30 minutes, it's followed up by a message from the Red Bull team. Basically saying, yes, we'll leave you to it, Max, or something like that. It's just so edited. It's so, it's just so contrived.
The 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton.
Two of the greatest drivers we've ever seen on the grid in Formula One now.
Two of the greatest drivers we've ever seen on the grid in Formula One now. Just to show you, this is the audio from the race in 30, just to hear, so you hear what I heard.
In the race, will that have an influence in this battle?
Yeah, but you want to get it done before the last couple of laps. All you need is a safety car or something, isn't it? And then you've lost your opportunity. But wow, this is even closer than I thought it was going to be.
So Verstappen now, car behind.
Leave me to it, Bono.
Okay, copy, got it. Leave it to me, says the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton.
Two of the greatest drivers we've ever seen on the grid in Formula One now. Absolutely, leave it to them. That's absolutely right. Wow, how's this going to end up?
I'm going to leave you to it. Let us know if you need anything.
Tremendous stint from Hamilton. His lap.
Two of the greatest drivers we've ever seen on the grid in Formula One. Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. So when Martin is referring to those two drivers as being two of the greatest drivers we've ever seen in Formula One, this is the state of play. Sir Lewis Hamilton, 266 races, 95 wins, so he's won 35.7% of the races that he's entered, 98 pole positions, 36.8% pole positions for the events that he's entered, 53 fastest laps, 165 podiums, 7 world championships. Max Verstappen, 119 Grand Prix, 10 wins, which is only winning 8.4% of the events he's entered, as opposed to 35.7%. 3 pole positions, which is 2.5% of the events he's entered. 10 fastest laps, 8.4, and 42 podiums, 35%. Look at the comparison between those two competitors. Now we can say, is that fair? Is that fair? Because what was Lewis like at that stage of his career? So Max had been in Formula One for 6 full seasons at this stage. What had Lewis been like after 6 full seasons? Let's have a look. Well, because they do more races per season as the years have gone by, after 6 seasons, Hamilton had done 110 races, Verstappen 119 races. Hamilton had won 21 of the 110 races, which is 19.1% of those races that he had won. Verstappen had only won 10 races, which is only 8.4%. Hamilton had set pole position on 26 of those 110 races, 23%, to Verstappen's 3, 2.5%. Hamilton got 12 fastest laps, 10.9%, to Verstappen's 10. You'd say those statistics are fairly comparable in terms of fastest laps. Is fastest lap important? In Hamilton's first 6 years of his career, did you get a point for setting the fastest lap of the race? What is more concerning is, what is it that you're trying to achieve? You're trying to win the race or accumulate as many points as you can. If you don't get a point for the fastest lap, is there any point in bothering? Podiums, 49 for Hamilton, which is 44.5%, 42 for Verstappen, 35.3%. 1 world championship for Sir Lewis Hamilton after his first 6 seasons, 0 world championships for Max Verstappen. So you look at that. You look at Hamilton's record after 6 seasons. 21 wins at a ratio or a percentage of 19%. Okay, so where would that put you on the all-time list? Now, I don't have the list as it was after 6 seasons, because these lists now include present-day drivers. They include Hamilton with his present-day records and Verstappen with his present-day records. Okay, so we need to discount those. But where would a driver be if after 21 wins they had achieved them at around about 19%? So we look at here, 21 wins. Who down here is 21 wins? Now we've got Kimi Raikkonen. But Kimi Raikkonen, he only achieved a win in like 6% of the Grand Prix he entered. Lewis Hamilton did it in 19.1% of his races. So 21 wins, 19.3%. So Damon Hill. Okay, 22 wins at 19%. Kimi Raikkonen, 21 wins at 6%. Hakkinen, 20 wins at 12%. Sterling Moss, 16 wins at 24%. So you're looking in and around Damon Hill, who is position 15 on that list there. But we've got to take out Hamilton and Verstappen, because we're assuming this is in the early parts of their career, where Schumacher would have been number 1, and actually said Vettel at that stage wouldn't have had that many. Certainly in Lewis Hamilton's first 6 seasons. Okay, so nice and simple. Let's say Hamilton's about 15th place ish. okay, with that record in the history of Formula One drivers. Max Verstappen, 10 wins at 8.4%. Where is Max on the list with 10 wins, 8.4%? Well, we've got to scroll down a bit, haven't we? Because he's not in the top 20. So we get down to here, 10 wins, 8.4. Now we're looking at those all-time greats of the sport, Ronnie Peterson and Jody Scheckter, in 32nd and 33rd position. 10 wins, 8.13. 10 wins, 8.93. Martin Brundle is telling us these are two of the all-time greatest drivers in the sport that we are now watching. Now, let me be clear. When you've got two competitors with those records at that stage, you're not watching two all-time greats. What qualifies you as being an all-time greats of the sport? When you've won nothing. When those are your statistics. When you've got the most amount of wins, the most amount of pole positions, the joint most amount of championships in the sport, you're an all-time great. When you've got just 10 wins, 3 pole positions and no championships, you're not even close to being in the conversation of being an all-time great. You're nothing. But Brundle informs you that you are watching two of the all-time greats. That's not authentic. Now, I like lots of sports. I like tennis. And my favourite player was Roger Federer. Elegant and graceful in the way he moved around the court, and he just made the game look like poetry, as far as I was concerned. Second to Federer, I like Nadal. I didn't like the guy on the right-hand side of the screen because he kept beating Federer, okay? But if I can't recognise that guy's brilliance, then I'm the fool. If I can't recognise Novak Djokovic for being the all-time great of the sport that he is, then I'm the fool. Wimbledon 2023. We've got Carlos Alcaraz, who won that event. However, if the tennis commentators, let's say it's John McEnroe, a former champion, a former Grand Slam winner, if he'd have told the watching audience that, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the 2023 Wimbledon final and you are watching two of the all-time greats of the sport playing in this final, I'd have had to say, John McEnroe, what the fuck are you going on about? Because the guy on the left so far hasn't done anything to be in the conversation of all-time greats. We've got a list here of somebody that's won 24 Grand Slams. And you've got 22 of Nadal, 20 of Federer. Alcaraz isn't on that list. You can keep scrolling down. You can keep scrolling down. He's not on there. Now, in 10 years' time, we might be able to look at where he is then, look at his accomplishments, look at his achievements, and he might have made his way into that conversation. But he's nowhere near it. I like football. There's two players which, in the present generation of footballers, which are nearing the end of their careers, but they are head and shoulders above everybody else. Recognised globally as being two of the greats of world football in the history of time. You can go through their statistics, the records, the accomplishments of these guys. You can see the number of goals that they've scored. The records that they've set are ridiculous. The statistics are ridiculous. You can compare them to the up-and-coming players. But look at their accomplishments. Look at what they've won. The championships they've won. The times they've been awarded the best player in the world. The goals that they've scored. Now, being English, I have hopes that my great white hope, pictured on screen, could one day be one of the best players in the world. But if England ended up playing Portugal in the final of the Euros, I'm dreaming now, or we ended up playing Argentina in the final of a World Cup, and we had Ronaldo playing for Portugal and Bellingham playing for England, if the commentators were saying, let's say next year or in 2 years' time, you are watching two of the greatest ever players on the pitch now in Ronaldo and Bellingham, or you are watching two of the greatest ever players on the pitch now in Messi and Bellingham, I would have to say, what the fuck are you going on about? At this stage in his career, as much as I hope that he goes on to achieve greatness, he's not accomplished anything. He's not accomplished anything. Do not describe him as an all-time great.
Okay, copy, got it. Leave it to me, says the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton.
Two of the greatest drivers we've ever seen on the...
Two of the greatest drivers we've ever seen, and that is the state of play as Brundle says that. 7 world championships to 0. 95 wins to 10. 98 poles to 3. Two of the greatest drivers we've ever seen. Really? But the gift that keeps on giving, where Hamilton would have been desperate on lap 1 because that's the only way that his strategy could have worked, because that's how they portray him at Silverstone, an event where he actually set the pole position time, came second in the sprint race where he didn't want to risk coming together with Max Verstappen and having to start the main Grand Prix, the one where you get 25 points from the back of the grid because Strap-on had crashed him out during the sprint, where there's only 3, 2 and 1 points available for those first 3 places in that season for a sprint race. So Hamilton didn't risk that. Instead, he got his car set up for straight line speed, which is what you need around Silverstone. But he needed to achieve that on lap 1 because that was his only chance of success there. But he didn't start on pole here either. And this wasn't his only chance of success. But as Verstappen got a chance of success, let's have a look.
At the rear, it's Max Verstappen coming his way. Hamilton moves to the middle of the track, forces Verstappen wider at turn 1 and positions that Mercedes beautifully. But is that only temporary from Lewis Hamilton? Can he now hold Max Verstappen up as they head towards turn 4? Hamilton's going to force Verstappen the long way round. By the time they get to the corner, he's about a third of a car in front. By the time they get out of the corner, he's a whole car in front. Max Verstappen is ahead of Lewis Hamilton.
But will Hamilton be complaining because
Hamilton will be complaining. Look at him complaining. Yeah, he'll be complaining.
Took the position whilst off the racetrack.
Max took the position off the racetrack. Should Hamilton need to be complaining, or should the commentators just be saying, no, that's not right because that car has gone off the racetrack. He completed the overtake by going off the racetrack. That's not allowed. That's how the rules of the sport are. But how do you want to tell us, commentary team? Who do you favour? What picture do you want to paint?
Is that gaining an advantage in the way that the...
Is that gaining an advantage? Yes. Yes, Crofty. Yes, it is. But how about you ask the audience, Crofty? How about you ask everybody what they think in the comment section, rather than just simply say, yeah, you're not allowed to do that because that is gaining an advantage by going off the track, which you're not allowed to do. And we will get the strap-on fans who have been incited by Red Bull going, yeah, but what about track limits? What about track limits? Learn about the sport. Realise you've been incited by what F1 TV selected from Red Bull to play to you, to incite you. And it's happened all season and continues to happen. The Red Bull vitriol is selected to incite you for your desires. It's nothing to do with what fans of the sport have known is part and parcel of the sport. It's like in a football match, before they introduced the disappearing magic spray for free kicks, players used to try and pinch a few yards when they got a free kick. Okay? Free kick would be awarded, and the person taking it might try and move that ball forward a few yards to gain an advantage. When the ball went out for a throw-in and the player on the side of the pitch takes a throw-in, often you will see that player creeping down the touchline, trying to gain 5 or 6 yards, taking that throwing from 5 or 6 yards further forward than where that ball went out. It is part and parcel of the game of football. But if that ball goes out of play and gets knocked back into play, like Thierry Henry when he scored his goal against, I think it was Ireland, when he handled the ball, bringing it back into play, they played on, and France ended up scoring. Pretty certain that was the game. That's not in the rules of the sport. They got away with cheating there. Okay? But it's like Red Bull saying, oh, had they been penalised for that? Oh, you penalise us when we use our hand to knock the ball back in off the side of the pitch after it had gone off. Yet every time they to get a throw in, they pitch 5 yards up the pitch, and you don't penalise them for that, do you? See, it's one rule for one rule for another. No, it's because every team pinches yards going up the touchline for a throw in, or every team tries to pinch a few yards at a free kick. What you've done, every team knows you're not allowed to do. There's a difference. So don't start inciting people by getting the people on your side going, oh, we're the ones that are hard done by this decision. That is exactly what Horner and Red Bull did all season and continue to do. But we'll listen to Martin.
Will Hamilton be complaining because he took the position whilst off the racetrack?
Is that gaining an advantage in the way that the stewards would be looking at it? Did Lewis Hamilton force him over that way in defence? Did he have to leave the track, Max?
Did Lewis Hamilton force him off the track? Just have a look and you'll see there's plenty of room there. But you propose that, you suggest that, you excuse Max, you vilify Lewis. Oh, did Lewis push him off the track? Did we get to Abu Dhabi, lap 1? Did you mention the notion of Max Verstappen forcing Lewis off the track? Clearly, where there was no track room for Lewis, but here there was track room for Max. But you're suggesting that Lewis is the one that's doing the forcing off track?
Verstappen, or will the stewards say no, that was unfair?
Apparently Verstappen just had a tyre on the curb.
Apparently Verstappen, no he didn't. But you're validating straight away. Anyway, I'm not asking for bias, but in most sports that you watch, when you're playing international sport, your commentary team for the sport comes from your country, and they are generally partisan. They want your team, your country, to win. Look at who we've got in this contest. We've got Sir Lewis Hamilton, a great of the sport from the UK. We've got Max Verstappen, somebody who at that stage had accomplished nothing in the sport, from the Netherlands. And how are they speaking about one and how are they speaking about another? And again, British commentators from your own country, countrymen of the guy who is at the helm of the sport, the icon of the sport, How are they talking about him? Comparing him and his greatness to this up-and-coming driver that's effectively achieved nothing at that stage. What's going on? What is going on? Now, I'm going to do a video, well, I'm going to do several videos exposing Silverstone, and as I go through the season as well, I'll show you this is a season-long narrative. It's boosting Max Verstappen. It is getting into people's minds that, oh, Max is so great and Lewis is making all of the mistakes and Lewis is the one that's doing all of these things to Max, and it's the other way around. Okay, Max didn't do anything wrong there. Oh, did Lewis do this to Max? Did Lewis do that to Max? Lewis could have done this. Oh, no, Max didn't do anything wrong there. All season. All season. It's a narrative. That's not authentic. That is not authentic. They can't explain the rules of the sport to you. They lie about the rules of engagement. They can't clearly depict them for you, but they validate and they vilify. And Red Bull are given the platform to spew their vitriol through the airwaves and into the minds of the conditioned that want Max to win, and validate their opinions with the shit that they're being fed by Horner that F1 TV are picking out and broadcasting. But when you see what they do at Silverstone, you'll see how truly disgusting it is, and the sheer volume of what they say is disturbing. Anyway, we've still got lots to do about Abu Dhabi, but we need to put into context everything. Everything is grounded in context. Things don't happen in isolation. There is a season-long narrative. It's systematic because it just doesn't happen on its own. You just don't get random events like this. You have a commentary team where they all seem to want to vilify and undermine the 7-time world champion and make out that this lad that's been in the sport for 6 years, that's accomplished nothing really at that stage, is equivalent as one of the all-time greats of the sport. 0 world championships at that stage. That is not, it's not normal, is it? That's not authentic. You show me any other sport where somebody is the world leader, okay? Tom Brady, for example, record amount of Super Bowls, okay? And somebody that just emerged onto the scene, might be a promising quarterback, but not won one. Would they be saying, oh, 2 of the all-time greats of American football? No. No, they'd say somebody's promising, you know, is going to be the next generation of talent, but he doesn't rank in the conversation of all-time greats. Oh, has he made a mistake? Oh, no, the other guys never made a mistake. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, that'll do for this one. I'll be keeping coming with the breakdown of Silverstone, and then we'll get back into Abu Dhabi. See you all soon.